Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and do some more buckshot testing. And today, we're out here on a pretty misty, humid morning. It's not really nice out here, but we've definitely got a pretty special loading to test. It's one that one of you guys sent us, and they are pretty much unobtainable. They're no longer made, but they're a very interesting loading, so I'm definitely excited to put them through its paces and see what they might actually be capable of. So as for those shells I've got today, I brought out some of these, the Federal Premium High Density Buckshot Loads. They are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 9 pellet load of double-aught, moving about 1,600 feet per second. But they are a high density load, which I'll talk about more here in a second. But huge thank you to Wang & 4. I probably just butchered that name, but I can barely talk in English half the time anyway correctly. But I'll leave his channel up here in the cards and in the description, because he's going to be doing a bunch more testing with these, and he's got a number of other very analytical numbers with buckshot loads and stuff like that. So go check him out. And without him, we wouldn't have these, because these are no longer made and they're pretty much unobtainable. But as for that high density here, I talked to Federal directly about these shells. Since several places online say they are TSS, or the full-on 18 grams per cc density, I wanted to know from Federal themselves what they are, what kind of chokes and stuff they suggest, and so on. So when I asked them number one, what were the pellets actually made of? And they told me that it's a tungsten iron alloy that sits at 15 grams per cc, so not quite a full-on 18 like a TSS turkey load or something, but still much denser than lead and heavy shot. These are a flight control load as well, so I also asked them what kind of chokes they recommend and what was the limit on choke constriction, and they suggest either an improved cylinder or a modified choke. However, they said don't put them through anything tighter than a full choke. And judging by the picture here, these kind of look like they're flight stopper pellets, which are round pellets, but they kind of have a ring around them that kind of bumps out as well. We'll see, because I'm going to do some penetration testing with these in today's video as well, and hopefully we catch one. That way we can weigh it and get a better look at it. So definitely a very interesting shell to run today, that's for sure. So as for the shotgun we're going to run them through, I brought out my good old Remington 1187, got a 28-inch barrel, but for the chokes, we're going to kind of test these through the full range of them. I've got everything from a cylinder to a full in all the usual steps, so cylinder, improved, mod, and full. So we should get an idea of how these shells perform through different chokes, especially since they are a flight control load, and we'll see if there's a clear winner or not. But as for all of those shots, we're going to keep them at 40 yards, the same traditional hunting type of distance we test all the other buckshot loads at. So we'll shoot a pattern with each of those chokes at 40 yards. Then we'll take our best performing choke combo and take another shot into some water jugs I have lined up and see what kind of penetration and energy we can actually get on target, since these are a pretty dense load. So first up, let's get you guys a view of these targets. We'll go through the chokes, cylinder, all the way up to full, see what we get, and we'll go from there into our penetration. So let's take some shots and see what these might actually be capable of. Alright, so let's take a quick peek through our velocities real quick before we go look at our targets. The box is claiming 1,600, and we were right there at it. Our 28-inch barrel absolutely gave us the velocity they were saying we should be seeing. We had 1629, 1610, 1630, and 1605 for an average at 1618. So as per their boss claim, that's pretty well perfect, and that'll give us a number to calculate some energy if we catch one of those pellets here in a few minutes when we do our penetration testing. But for now, let's go look at our targets and see how they actually patterned. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard targets, and let's take a peek to see what we actually got. Now, just a quick note, from what I gather, these shells did start as kind of a forestry service buckshot load for animal control and things of that nature, so they are a hunting-oriented shell, but towards the later end of their run, it seems like Federal might have switched them over to more of a defensive application as far as their marketing goes, but nothing changed about the loading, and I was kind of hoping to see a little little bit better patterns than what we saw here, that's for sure. This may very well be part of the reason why they took them off the market, because with the tungsten craze we have nowadays, I couldn't imagine these being taken down unless they were just too ridiculously expensive to produce, or if there was something wrong or that they didn't like about the shells. So we'll start here with our cylinder bore. All of these shots are going to be at 40 yards, and we only had 8 of the 9 pellets actually hit the paper. Of the 8 we had a 17.25-inch spread with a ginormous hole right in the middle of our pattern, and I don't see any other impacts on the boards or anything like that. So clearly we had what appears to be a 9th pellet flyer here, and that has been something that's a tangible enough trend for it to be notable when it comes to 9 pellet double aught, is that 9th pellet flyer. So nothing impressive, to be honest with you, with our cylinder bore. But now we'll move over here to our improved cylinder choke, and quite honestly, it's pretty much the same story. Nothing super impressive. We had 8 pellets on the paper. However, the 9th pellet is in this board in the center of your screen right here. You can see that fresh hole. That is the 9th pellet. And the farthest 2 points across in that pattern gave us 28 inches of spread. And it's just kind of shot all over the place more than anything else. It's definitely nowhere near the regular lead flight control loads. I can tell you that right now. It's not even close to patterning as good as those. But here's our modified choke pattern, which is probably our best pattern of the day. At least we held all 9 of them on the paper, and it somewhat tried to be a pretty condensed pattern. We have an okay spread of pellets down here with that 1 flyer up there. That gave us a 19.1/8-inch spread at 40 yards. Numbers wise, that's about as good as we get from these shells. And still, that really isn't super impressive for a flight control shell. We have seen tremendously better out of the regular lead ones. I mean, we can easily get 13, 14, 15 inches out of those spread all day long. But we'll move over here to our full choke pattern now, and we kind of went backwards yet again. We did keep all 9 of them on the paper, but we had a 26.25-inch spread, and we're kind of back to just being random spots all over the paper. So overall, with the pattern spread itself, I'm really not super impressed. Clearly that mod choke was our best pattern out of them, even down to our cylinder bore down there, which everybody goes crazy about with flight control. You can't run them through anything tighter than a cylinder or improved cylinder. Well, clearly they suggested a mod choke as one of their options, and I'd say that's probably about the best we can get from them. Potentially the velocity combined with such a hard pellet, even though it is a flight control load, is just too much. So probably pushing them too fast in my opinion. And here's a quick look at the wads from those shells. From left to right, it's cylinder, improved, mod, and full. They all look very much the same, nothing out of the ordinary. They are a standard flight control wad, but they are blue. I don't know if I've ever run across a blue flight control wad, but nothing stuck down in there, no major damage or anything on them. And in theory, these should have done a lot better than they did, because the wad looks fine, but they definitely didn't give us anything super impressive for patterns. But let's go shoot them into some water jugs and see what we actually get from that. Alright, so for our penetration test here, I've got 10 jugs lined up here behind me full of water. Water isn't a perfect substitute for tissue material, but it's a consistent medium. If it blows through all 10 jugs, that's going to be super impressive. For reference, lead double aught buck typically lands right around the 4th jug, which is the yellow cap right here. Sometimes you get a pellet or 2 before that, sometimes a pellet or 2 after, but if we can get more than 4 jugs, that's definitely going to be a big improvement. As for setup and distance, I went back to our modified choke, which gave us the best pattern, and I'm going to walk it back to about 20 yards or so. I would have liked to test them at 40 for penetration, but I don't think we have the pattern capability for that. So 20 yards, at least we can hold multiple pellets actually hitting the jugs at that kind of range, and hopefully we catch them. So I'm going to walk it back here to 20. We'll take our shot and we'll see what we get. All right, so let's take a peek here and see what we got. Jug number 1 and jug number 2 are both down here on the ground. We had a nice centered hit on jug number 1, but they scattered quick as soon as they hit that jug, because jug number 2 over here kind of has pellet holes all over the place in it. If you look here at the top, you can see the spread of them on the side of that jug. They're kind of all over the place. But moving up here to the table, jug number 3 is empty. We still had multiple good hits on that. Went completely through and through, and there's nothing but a little bit of water water in that one. Jug number 4, we still had multiple good hits across the front here. At least 4 of them that I see right off the bat. Empty on water. And it actually sounds like we might have a pellet or 2 in jug number 4 there. And we'll take a look at that here in a second. However, jug number 5, we still had multiple of them that entered the front here. But clearly a few of those pellets stopped over here somewhere in jug number 4. So as far as jug 5 goes, I believe we might have a pellet or 2 in here as well. Jug number 6, we'll look here and we have a little dimple that barely cracked right here at the tip of my thumb, but I don't believe that's an entrance of any kind, and there's nothing else on the face of that jug at all. And 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all perfect, so I'm saying we had a mixture here. Some pellets stopped in jug 3, some 4, and some 5, which isn't anything super massive improvement wise over regular lead buckshot. Typically 3 to 4 is about what you get with that, but let's dump these jugs out and see what our pellets actually look like. All right, and sure enough, in jug number 4, we had 2 pellets, and in jug number 5, we had 1. I thought we might have 1 in jug 3 as well, but we didn't. So maybe we did see a little bit of improvement, a little more penetration. I mean, to be fair, we did kind of poke just a little bit into jug number 6, but it didn't actually penetrate. But I was kind of thinking we might go into jug 7 or 8 potentially with these, and that's not what we saw. But we can clearly see those rings around those flight stopper pellets. I'm not a huge fan of the flight stopper pellets themselves, and I kind of forgot about that when we were looking at our patterns. That may be another good reason why these did not pattern all that great. These flight stopper pellets, in my experience, have thrown some rather splotchy patterns, so that is definitely a possibility. But now let's move over and take these inside. We'll weigh them, we'll measure them, because that's going to give us some very good data as well.
Alright, so now you join me in here in voiceover when we're actually inside on the bench looking at these pellets. And yeah, needless to say, the full story is going to come out very quickly here. Because Federal, I believe, might be lying a little bit about these shells. Because they aren't exactly what they seemed. First up here, you can see what these flight stopper pellets look like. They're still round, but they have a ring around the outside edge. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of them. But I did measure them here, and on the round side, it's 0.325 inches, and on the raised ring side, it's 0.324 inches. A normal double-aught buck pellet is supposed to measure at 0.33 inches, so 33 cal. These are just small of that, but I would call it still pretty nominal here. It's close enough. So measurement-wise, nothing super fishy, but let's look at the weight. And bingo, there we go. I knew something was a little bit funny here. We didn't see all that great penetration, which I'll get more into that here in a second as to why that happened. But these pellets only weigh 39 grains. That isn't even close to what a lead double-aught pellet weighs. And here is a lead double-aught pellet just for comparison reference here. You can see 0.333, so it's the correct diameter. And it weighs 59.8 grains, which is very typical lead double-aught buck range. Anywhere from 55 to 60 is very common depending on the lead makeup. So we are significantly under that with our 39 grains from these high-density quote-unquote pellets. So at this point, after seeing this, the wheels got turning in my head and the math was simply not mathing. I had to do some calculations because I knew there is no way these were a 15 gram per cc high density pellet like they claimed it was. The math just doesn't line up. The penetration doesn't match, the weight doesn't match, or anything. So I went through and did some calculations here, and I came up with something that I did not expect, but it all kind of made sense here. So we obviously knew our mass. I just converted the grains to grams for the calculator here. I did a little bit of math to figure out the volume of our pellet. It's a 0.019 cubic inch volume pellet, and if we calculate that up, that is 8.3 grams per cc density. That is horrible. And just for the people that may not know, a lead pellet is 11.3 to 11.4 grams per cc as far as density goes. Even Even bismuth is 9.8 grams per cc. So this 8.3 is even worse than having a bismuth double-aught buck pellet. That is not at all what you want to see. And yeah, it all makes sense. Looking at the patterns, looking at the velocity that they had to push these two to be able to get the same rough energy and rough penetration of a lead pellet, it all absolutely makes sense. So Federal essentially made one big giant lie of a shell here, and there's really no other way to put it. I even went and did some math after the fact as well that I don't have screenshots for, but a regular old lead 9 pellet double-aught at about 1200 feet per second was like 1700 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, and these were right about 1900 foot-pounds at 1600 feet per second. So they obviously had to compensate to make it somewhat sort of close. So there's just no other way to put it. Federal lied with these shells, and all of this combined is probably the reason they're no longer on the market. If they were a true high density, big heavy 15 gram per cc pellet, they would be weighing in at about 80 grains. This 39 though just isn't gonna cut it. So they may truly be a tungsten iron alloy like Federal told me, but I'm saying it's way more iron, aka steel, than it is any kind of tungsten. The math just didn't line up, so Federal lied on this one.
Alright y'all, well, what did you think about these results right here? That's definitely a very interesting loading. As for our patterns, I'm really not impressed, to be honest with you. I know what flight control is capable of, and this is not it. So I think a combination of being pushed too fast and having those flight stopper pellets in there, they just didn't really make a good combination that jives well together. I think if they wanted to redesign this load a little bit and bring it back out, it would be very popular. Just put a standard flight control wad at 1200 feet per second with regular shaped, nice round, high density pellets, and I think you're gonna have a winner right there. It's gonna have more than enough energy and penetration capability, and it's probably gonna pattern a little bit better as well. So if it's a reasonable price, people are gonna buy it. So if Federal wants to bring that out, then I think that probably should be the way they go about it. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is this about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you ever tested any of these high density buckshot loads? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is this a combination that you would use or that you have used? And would you hunt with it? Would you use it for a home defense type of scenario? And what other testing might you want to see us do with those shells? I've still got a handful of them left, and I think I probably want to try and run them through a couple aftermarket chokes just to see what happens. But let me know if that's something you guys might want to see. Leave all your thoughts down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.